Have you been feeling like your energy is draining away, your muscles are shrinking, and no matter what you try, the stubborn belly fat just won't budge? What if I told you that 5 specific exercises could reverse most of these problems while naturally boosting your testosterone levels at the same time? And here's the shocking part. Most men over 50 are doing exercises that actually make these problems worse, not better. Hi, my name is Dr. Paul Johnson, and I've spent the past 11 years helping men over 50 reclaim their vitality and strength through evidence-based exercise strategies. I've seen hundreds of patients walk into my clinic feeling defeated, convinced that declining testosterone and deteriorating health were just inevitable parts of aging. But here's what the research actually shows, and what I've witnessed firsthand in my practice. The right exercises can trigger a hormonal cascade that helps restore testosterone levels, rebuild muscle mass, reduce body fat, improve cardiovascular health, strengthen bones, enhance mental clarity, and yes, even reignite your confidence in ways you probably thought were gone forever. Now, before we dive into these 5 game-changing exercises, I want to be clear about something important. Everything I'm sharing today is for educational purposes and shouldn't replace personalized advice from your own healthcare provider. Always consult with your doctor before starting any new exercise program, especially if you have existing health conditions. I remember when Robert, a 62-year-old former athlete, came to see me complaining of constant fatigue and a complete loss of the competitive drive he'd had his whole life. His testosterone levels were sitting at just 280 nanograms per deciliter, well below the healthy range. After implementing the exact exercise protocol I'm about to share with you, his testosterone increased by 17% within just 12 weeks, and he told me he felt like himself again for the first time in years. Let me explain the science behind why these specific exercises work so powerfully for men over 50. When you perform compound movements that engage multiple large muscle groups simultaneously, your body responds by releasing growth hormone and testosterone. Research published in the Journal of Functional Morphology and Kinesiology found that resistance training and high-intensity interval training are the most effective exercise types for boosting testosterone in aging men. But here's the critical detail most people miss. Not all exercises trigger this hormonal response equally. The movements I'm about to show you have been specifically selected because they recruit the maximum amount of muscle mass, create the right type of metabolic stress, and can be safely modified for men who may be dealing with joint issues or haven't exercised consistently in years. The first exercise that should become a cornerstone of your routine is the squat. Now, I'm not talking about the heavy barbell back squats you might remember from your 20s. For men over 50, the goblet squat is absolutely perfect because it counterbalances your body, making it easier to maintain proper form while still delivering incredible results. The squat works your quadriceps, glutes, hamstrings, and core simultaneously, and research shows that this full-body stress stimulates a hormonal surge that directly supports testosterone production. A study examining resistance training in older men found that compound movements like squats increased total testosterone by approximately 10% over 6 weeks of conditioning exercise. Here's how to perform a goblet squat correctly. Hold a dumbbell or kettlebell at your chest with both hands, keeping your feet shoulder width apart. Push your hips back and bend your knees to lower down, keeping your chest up and the weight close to your body. Lower until your thighs are parallel to the floor or as deep as your mobility allows, then drive through your heels to return to standing. The beauty of this movement is that the weight held at your chest actually helps you maintain an upright posture and proper form. Start with 3 sets of 8 to 12 repetitions and gradually increase the weight as you get stronger. By the way, if you're finding this information valuable and you want to make sure you don't miss future content that could genuinely transform your health, I'd really appreciate it if you'd subscribe to Paul Johnson Senior Secrets and turn on notifications. I share evidence-based strategies like this every week, specifically designed for men over 50 who are serious about optimizing their health and vitality. The second exercise is the deadlift, which I consider the single most powerful movement for total body strength and testosterone production in men over 50. Now, before you worry about your back, let me tell you that when performed with proper form, deadlifts actually strengthen your entire posterior chain, including your hamstrings, glutes, lower back, and core, which serves as your body's natural support system. A fascinating study on aging men found that resistance exercise protocols involving large muscle groups like deadlifts showed the most significant impact on testosterone levels. For men over 50, I recommend starting with either the trap bar deadlift or Romanian deadlift variation, as these place less stress on your lower back while maintaining all the benefits. Here's the proper technique for a Romanian deadlift using dumbbells. Stand with your feet hip-width apart, holding a dumbbell in each hand in front of your thighs. Push your hips backward while lowering the weights down the front of your legs, keeping them close to your body. Maintain a neutral spine throughout the movement, feeling the stretch in your hamstrings. Once you feel that stretch, drive through your heels to return to standing, squeezing your glutes at the top. Perform 3 sets of 6 to 8 repetitions, focusing on perfect form before adding heavier weight. One of my patients, Thomas, a 57-year-old businessman who'd been sedentary for over a decade, was skeptical about deadlifts at first because of an old back injury. We started him with very light dumbbells, focusing purely on the hip hinge pattern. Within 8 weeks, not only had his chronic lower back pain disappeared, but his energy levels had improved so dramatically that he started playing tennis again, something he hadn't done in 15 years. At this point, I need to mention something crucial. The exercises I'm describing require proper form and progressive overload to be effective and safe. Listen to your body, start with lighter weights than you think you need, and never sacrifice form for heavier loads. The third exercise that creates remarkable results is the bench press, specifically the dumbbell version, which is safer for aging shoulders. This movement engages your chest, shoulders, and triceps under heavy load, creating a hormonal response that boosts testosterone while building upper body strength that translates to everyday activities. Research comparing different resistance training protocols found that pressing movements performed for 6 to 8 repetitions with 90 to 120 seconds rest between sets produced optimal testosterone elevation. Here's how to perform the dumbbell bench press safely. Lie on a flat bench with your feet firmly planted on the floor, holding a dumbbell in each hand at chest level. Your palms should face forward, and your elbows should be at about a 45-degree angle from your body, not flared out to 90 degrees, which can strain your shoulders. Press the dumbbells upward and slightly together until your arms are extended but not locked out. Lower the weight slowly and with control back to chest level. Perform 3 to 4 sets of 6 to 8 repetitions, resting 90 to 120 seconds between sets. The key is controlling the weight throughout the entire range of motion, which is far more important than how much weight you're lifting. The fourth exercise is the overhead press, and this one is incredibly valuable for preserving shoulder function and upper body strength as you age. When you press weight overhead while standing, your core has to work incredibly hard to keep you stable, which means you're strengthening your shoulders, upper chest, triceps, and core all at once. A comprehensive review on exercise and testosterone found that multi-joint exercises requiring stabilization from core musculature produce superior hormonal responses compared to isolated movements. For the standing dumbbell overhead press, start with your feet shoulder width apart, holding a dumbbell in each hand at shoulder height with palms facing forward. Brace your core, keep your chest tall, and press both dumbbells overhead until your arms are fully extended. Lower the weights back to shoulder height with control, never letting them drop. If standing creates too much lower back stress, you can perform this seated, though you'll lose some of the core activation benefits. Aim for 3 to 4 sets of 6 to 8 repetitions, and remember that maintaining perfect form is more important than using heavy weights, especially with overhead movements, where shoulder health is paramount. I recently had a patient named Michael, a 68-year-old grandfather, who came to me because he couldn't lift his grandchildren anymore without his shoulders aching for days afterward. We started him on very light overhead presses, just 5-pound dumbbells, and gradually built up his strength over 12 weeks. Not only did his shoulder pain completely resolve, but his testosterone levels, which we monitored throughout, increased from 310 to 375 nanograms per deciliter. Speaking of which, if you're getting value from these practical science-backed strategies, I'd love it if you could hit the like button and share this video with other men who might benefit. The more we can spread this information, the more men we can help reclaim their vitality and strength. And make sure you're subscribed to Paul Johnson, Senior Secrets, because I release new content every week, specifically designed to help you optimize your health after 50. The fifth and final exercise that completes this testosterone boosting protocol is the bent over row, which is essential for building a strong, functional back and correcting the forward hunched posture that many men develop over years of desk work. Rows strengthen your latissimus dorsi, rhomboids, trapezius, and rear deltoids, creating muscular balance that supports testosterone production and reduces injury risk. Research on rowing exercises found that standing bent over rows produced balanced muscle activation throughout the back and promoted optimal spine stiffness and stability needed for overall strength development. Here's the proper technique for the dumbbell bent over row. Stand with your feet hip-width apart, holding a dumbbell in each hand. Hinge forward at your hips, maintaining a neutral spine with your chest up and core braced. Let the dumbbells hang straight down from your shoulders. Pull both dumbbells up toward your hips, driving with your elbows and squeezing your shoulder blades together at the top of the movement. Lower the weights with control back to the starting position. Complete 3 to 4 sets of 8 to 10 repetitions, focusing on the squeeze at the top of each rep, rather than just moving the weight up and down. Now here's where most men over 50 make critical mistakes that sabotage their results, and I want to make sure you avoid these pitfalls. The first mistake is training with the same intensity and recovery approach they used in their 20s or 30s. Your body needs more recovery time now, not less. Research clearly shows that men over 50 benefit most from training 3 to 4 days per week with at least 1 full day of rest between sessions. The second major mistake is ignoring proper warm-up protocols. Your connective tissues need more preparation to handle the stress of multi-joint exercises. Spend 5 to 10 minutes on light cardio to increase core temperature, then perform dynamic mobility exercises targeting your hips, shoulders, and spine before touching any weights. The third mistake is prioritizing weight over form. I cannot emphasize this enough. Perfect form with lighter weights will produce far better results and keep you injury-free compared to sloppy form with heavy weights. The fourth mistake is doing too much volume. More sets and more exercises don't equal better results. Research on older lifters suggests that 12 to 16 total sets per muscle group per week is the sweet spot for maximizing strength and muscle gains without overtaxing recovery. And the fifth mistake is neglecting progressive overload. Your body adapts to stress, so you need to gradually increase either the weight, the repetitions, or the sets over time to continue seeing improvements in both strength and testosterone levels. Before you implement any of these strategies, remember to check with your healthcare provider, especially if you have any existing medical conditions or haven't exercised regularly in a while. Your safety and long-term health are what matter most. Let me share one more patient story that really drives home the power of this approach. George, a 71-year-old retired engineer, came to see me convinced that his best years were behind him. His testosterone was at 260 nanograms per deciliter. He'd lost over 20 pounds of muscle mass, and he felt exhausted all the time. We started him on this exact 5-exercise protocol, beginning with very light weights and focusing intensely on form. After 6 months of consistent training 3 days per week, his testosterone had increased to 350 nanograms per deciliter. He'd gained back 15 pounds of lean muscle. His body fat percentage had dropped from 32% to 24%, and he told me he felt stronger and more energetic than he had in 20 years. Here's your practical implementation plan to get started this week. On day 1, perform squats, bench press, and rows. Start with just 2 sets of each exercise using very light weight, focusing entirely on learning proper form. On day 2, rest completely or do light stretching and walking. On day 3, perform deadlifts and overhead press. Again, just 2 sets of each with light weight. On day 4, rest. On day 5, repeat the day 1 workout, but add a 3rd set to each exercise if you're feeling good. Continue this pattern, gradually adding weight in small increments, never more than 5 to 10 pounds at a time. Track your workouts in a simple notebook, recording the weight used and how many repetitions you completed for each exercise. This data will help you apply progressive overload systematically rather than randomly. The beautiful thing about this 5-exercise protocol is its simplicity. You don't need fancy equipment, expensive gym memberships, or complicated programs. A basic set of dumbbells and a bench are sufficient to transform your body, boost your testosterone, and reclaim the vitality you thought was gone. These movements work because they engage the largest muscle groups in your body, create the right metabolic and mechanical stress to trigger hormonal responses, build functional strength that translates to everyday life, protect your joints through full range of motion when performed correctly, and can be progressively scaled as you get stronger. One more thing before we wrap up, I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. What's the biggest challenge you're facing when it comes to maintaining your strength and vitality after 50? Are you dealing with low energy, stubborn body fat, declining muscle mass, or just general confusion about what actually works? Drop a comment and let me know, because your feedback helps me create content that directly addresses what you're struggling with. And of course, if you haven't already, make sure you're subscribed to Paul Johnson, Senior Secrets, so you don't miss the upcoming videos where I'll be diving deeper into nutrition strategies, sleep optimization, and stress management techniques specifically designed for men over 50. Remember, declining testosterone and deteriorating health are not inevitable consequences of aging. They're largely the result of inactivity, poor nutrition, inadequate sleep, and chronic stress, all of which can be addressed through the right approach. The 5 exercises I've shared with you today, the squat, deadlift, bench press, overhead press, and bent over row, form the foundation of a program that has helped hundreds of my patients restore their testosterone levels, rebuild their strength, reduce body fat, and feel like themselves again. You have more control over your health and vitality than you realize. The research is clear, the results I've seen in my practice are undeniable, and the opportunity is in front of you right now. It's time to stop accepting decline as inevitable and start taking action to reclaim the strength and energy that are rightfully yours. Your best years don't have to be behind you, they can be right now, starting today.